Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, let's pull up this screen. Oh, boy. This is my own 2024 Vols SEC schedule with the 8-game deal going on with it. As you know, they've decided to go with 8 games in 2024 as opposed to the 9 games. And it's not going to probably be the 1 permanent and 7 and skip and all that because they're only doing this as a stopgap, which makes sense because I think there's 2 big reasons they did it. Number one, they don't have any extra money from ESPN. ESPN's going through financial hurdles right now, and they're laying people off. So getting an extra, which it would require another $100 million at least to get that 9th game added because they're paying them over $800 million now for a season. Well, if you add an extra game, that's 12% more games. So you'd need another $100 million for that. I don't see ESPN doing that, and they have no guarantee of it, so they've decided to stick with 8. The other issue is they want to see how the playoff is handled. They also want to get a year under their belt with the new 12-team playoff in 2024 and see how that affects the SEC as opposed to moving to 9 because, again, you'd be guaranteed 8 more losses for the SEC as a whole, and that could keep people out. They also are concerned, the bottom half of the SEC is concerned about bowl eligibility, and if they don't get to a bowl game, they may be saying sayonara to a $6 million check every year for the head coach. Athletic director may be saying goodbye to $1.5 million a year in his big house, and the president wouldn't be far behind because if your football team stinks, everybody's job is in jeopardy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put together what I think would be a fun, reasonable schedule for the Vols in 2024, and let's start out with our first team. All right, so I've got Alabama as our first team.
Alabama!
Not necessarily in this order, but I put this as far as importance, kind of. Obviously, the Alabama game has been a long standing tradition, and they said they're going to try to keep traditions as best they can and some new ones. So Alabama's the obvious one that we'd want to play or need to play in order to keep that going. And I think a lot of people would be disappointed if we didn't. So that's my first game there with Nick saying, look, I know Nick doesn't want to play us. I understand that. He was very upset about the 9-team schedule they had lined up for him where he'd be playing Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn every year. He didn't think that was fair. But I'm going to stick with it. So the next team on this on our schedule will be Kentucky. I'm thinking Kentucky. Of course, that's a border wall. We've been playing them forever, and that's just been it's been a good game. It's been fun. Now, last year wasn't. We whooped up on them pretty good, but the year before was a heck of a ball game, and that's another traditional matchup that I think we ought to keep. Now, this third game, this is one, my personal preference. This is the game that I want, and I want it to be at Neyland, by the way. I definitely want it to be at Neyland, and when you see who I've got lined up in the third game, you'll understand perfectly. Absolutely. One Lane Kiffin. Now, I wouldn't care who he was coaching. I just want to play whoever Lane Kiffin is coaching because I'm pretty sure the Vols will have the French's mustard, they'll have the golf balls, they'll have everything lined up just for him. And I think that would be a fantastic game. The viewership on that would be at least 10 million. People would be very excited to watch that game. So I definitely want to play Ole Miss in 2024. The next one is Vanderbilt. It's our in-state rivalry. And we usually whoop up on them, but actually they've actually had some wins against us in the last 10 years when we were, terrible. But you got to kind of keep tradition going. We've done that with Alabama, Kentucky. We'll do that with Vanderbilt. Now, the next one on the list might surprise you a little bit, but this is a game that I think would be really fun to play. And we've not played them in a while. I think Butch Jones, Butch Jones, was our coach, and we basically gave away a game in the fourth quarter against this team. And most of you will know that's Oklahoma. I want to play Oklahoma in 2024. I think that would be super fun. And we might end up playing them in Norman or at Neyland. Of course, you'd want to play them at Neyland. But I'd be fine going to Norman. Now, the next game, we have not played this team, and I literally cannot remember. It's been a long, long time. I think Philip Fulmer or Johnny Majors was head coach last time we played this team, and that is Mississippi State. We need to play Mississippi State. They're in our same conference, by the way, the SEC. We just never see them, ever. So I'd want to play them. The next team is another one we've not played in a really long time, and that is this one. The old Auburn Tigers. We've not played Auburn in a very long time, and I think that would be a fun game. I got a lot of friends that are Auburn fans, so I'd like to match up against Auburn. I think that would be cool in 2024. All right, now this last one, I've saved the best for last. This is the one that, of course, we got to play this game, period. This one's really important, and that's the old Florida Gators with Billy Napier and the boys. I can tell you, we got to play Florida. That's just the way that it is. It'll be fantastic fun. We will be playing them in the Swamp this year, so we'd be playing them at Neyland in 2024 with Nico. I think that'd be a super fun game. So right there is my schedule that I'd like to see us play. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, what about Missouri, or what about South Carolina, or what about Georgia? I'm tired of playing Missouri. They're boring. I don't really want to play them. South Carolina, yeah, we're playing them this year. It'll be a big revenge game, and I think we'll handle them. But South Carolina's not been that big a game for us forever. It's just we got, tripped up last year, but typically it's not that big a game. Now, as far as Georgia is concerned, I still expect to play Georgia in 2024. It will either be in the SEC championship game if we go with this schedule, or we'll see them in the playoffs. You're not going to avoid Georgia. They're on top of the world right now, and you're going to have to go through them to get a natty. And 2024 is the year I think we have a legitimate shot at it, especially with a 12-team playoff. And since we always play Alabama and Georgia every year, it would be nice to have one year where we don't play the top two teams in our regular season. Again, we'll have to go through them in the SEC championship game or in a playoff scenario if we're not in that championship game, or somehow Georgia gets knocked out of it and they finish number 8 in the country or something like that. But anyway, that is my schedule right there, and I would really enjoy that. Like I say, just going through it again, Mississippi State we haven't seen in forever. This is a huge game. I would love to play the Kiff Boy. And then we've got our traditional ones in here with Alabama, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt, a new one in Auburn, and of course Florida, and a new one in Oklahoma. So anyway, those are my teams that I'd like to play in 2024. You might have a very different opinion. Comment to me and I'll read them, that's for sure. And if somebody's got a better one, I might even put a show on it or something, or I'll show it during the show. All right, folks, I did want to feature my sponsor in this show today, which I introduced you to him a few days ago, and that was Peter Holloway. And he's a big Vol fan and wanted to support the channel, which is really cool. And he's got a beach house that he rents out, and he thought one of the ways that he could help sponsor is to advertise. And I'll show you some of the pictures of this home. It's very reasonably priced to rent, and it's got great access to the beach. You can just walk right to it, and really some cool amenities.
Now you don't yell out amenities. I can't hear your amenities.
Here's the actual home. Here's the interior of the home, and right here is the actual property. And you have access to 3 different pools. As you can see, the ocean's right there. So if you've got kids with you, you know how they love to get in the pool if they're not going to be in the ocean. A big master bedroom. You've got bunk beds for the kids if you're going to bring your family. As you can see, it's a really nice place. Nice back porch to hang out. A nice full kitchen. After a big day at the ocean, you may want to have a low country boil or something along those lines. And this would be a great place to do just that. And I do like how the kitchen ties into the living room, which is always nice. That way nobody's separated. And the resort is actually called Portside Resort. And their name of their home there is the Salty Suite. And if you want to play tennis, you can certainly do that. And again, you can see all the pools, hot tub, all of that. Also, if you want to work out. So if you're looking to take a trip down to Panama City, Florida, the Salty Suite's a great deal, very reasonably priced. And you would be renting from a Vols fan who also is in the military. He and his wife both were in the military. He still currently is, and they're both huge Vols fans. So instead of renting from a big corporation, why not rent from a Vols fan? So check out the Salty Suite next time you're looking to go down to Florida. All right, folks. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the SEC, the Vols, of course, and every other team that I feel like covering, and any other news that I want to cover. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. Just boom, boom, boom. That's all you got to do. It's not that hard. And right over here is a video that YouTube algorithm thinks you will love. And they're pretty good at that. So anyway, we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.